Hi everyone, and welcome to Moko Says Create. Creating is hard. Get inspired and learn with us. I'm your host, Monica Maldonado, and I'm joined by my co-host, Corey Willis.
Hey!
And we are so excited for today's topic.
We are so excited for the topic of stylizing your voice.
Yes.
Or finding your voice.
Yes. And so I guess with visual artists, that would be figuring out or discovering your style. That would be artist voice,
The thing that makes your art, and not someone else's.
Exactly.
So that comes down to, once you have your voice, someone can look for 2 seconds at a painting or a drawing and know, oh, that's Monica's painting. Yeah. Or if you're reading a story, you know on the first sentence, oh, that's Corey's story.
Yeah, you won't even have to look at...
like not everyone will like your style, but you want people to be able to identify that, oh, that's theirs.
Yes, and like without even being informed of whose that piece was by. Like they will just read it and not see their name.
Right, exactly. Yeah. In my writing group, many times we don't put the names for that exact reason because it's fun to like, wait a minute. Yeah. This is so-and-so's, even though I've never read any part of this story. Mm-hmm. I just know it's theirs because they have their stamp.
It's a similar voice. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Their voice.
It's their voice.
Exactly. So I'm excited about this just because I feel like I'm finally becoming confident in what my style is as an artist. So I'm excited to talk more about, I guess, my experiences along with the tips that we're going to offer.
Exactly.
About how to find your voice.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to go over practical steps you can take to discovering your voice or your style. Mm-hmm. And we've come up with some fancy alliteration.
Oh, yes. Well, Corey came up with it.
Yeah.
I tried, but I'm not good with words.
So the first category is initiation.
Yeah.
And this is about getting into a community to help you find your voice.
Yes.
And this is a important step in the process. This is what helped me discover my voice. Because my writing before I started in my writing group and after is very different. So the first thing you can do is join a Meetup group. For instance, the Meetup is just the most popular website at the moment for finding a group of people
with similar interests
with
or
a common
hobbies.
interest.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to join a writing group, the likelihood of there being a writing group in your city or right next to it is very high.
Yeah.
Same with painters groups. The painting groups tend to be more expensive to join, which writers groups are free, but because some painters courses have cost for they supply materials.
Yeah, sometimes they're renting like an actual art room, like at a university or something. So then you have to help pay that rent,
right?
Or the materials, or if you're doing what's it called, the life drawing, figure drawing, they'll pay somebody to be the figure. I'm so
the
my
model.
Mind is the model.
Right. So those can be a little more expensive. So if a in-person meetup doesn't work for you, then there's always online.
Yeah.
There's online forums, Facebook groups, Instagram tags. There's a million ways to interface with that.
For sure. And I feel like with me, especially because we don't live in a very artsy town. So there are, I'm sure, many artists in our hometown, but we don't really get together because this hometown isn't really made for that. It's just suburb. Mainly, it's not very artsy, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So, like with me, finding a group online helps, and like keeping each other just for accountability too, and for tips.
Right. Not only that, it's good to share your work. With hashtags of like, what do they call it? Swapping, where like you critique mine, I critique yours.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you should be doing some of that.
I never even heard of this. Yeah. That's awesome.
So you can get feedback on yours, and then you get feedback on theirs. Because it's not only important to get feedback, but giving feedback actually makes you think more critically and then about work. Because when you read your own, you try to think critically, but you're not. Yeah. Like, you're too close to it. So when you analyze someone else's, you actually find things about your own, like, oh, I totally do the same thing there. I do that same mistake. But you don't notice it in your own work until you see it in someone else's. And you're like, oh, wow, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
So then you could actually take that back into your own work.
It's like that quote, I guess, that saying where you learn best by teaching.
Right. Yeah.
It's so true because you have to be really knowledgeable. You have to know it like the back of your hand in order to help somebody with it, so, or find it. So yeah, that is definitely good.
Yeah.
I need to look for that swap thing, whatever it is.
And the same goes for writing. There's lots of different groups and forums and things where everyone shares their thing and everyone gives and shares feedback.
That's so cool.
On different types of work.
Yeah.
So that is the first step is like, if you're working in a vacuum. Yeah. Your work's going to feel like it was made in a vacuum. It's going to be very out of touch. Yeah. It's not going to be as polished or as unique as it could be. Yeah. Whereas if you're getting that feedback and giving feedback, it will help you solidify your voice a lot. Yeah, for sure. And I think, we didn't even share the cool thing we did, the I. Initiation. Yeah, we didn't explain it. Oh, we're going to say the whole thing up front?
Yeah.
Okay. So
we just covered the first one, which we wrote as I can't speak.
Initiation.
Initiation. Number 2 is
inspiration.
Inspiration. Number 3 is
iteration.
And number 4 is
independence.
The 4 eyes.
The 4 eyes.
Oh, 4 eyes. Get it? 4 eyes. It's like the other 4 eyes.
Because we're nerdy. Like... Wear glasses. Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, we just covered initiation. I think another important thing is, well, I don't know where this would go under. I was just thinking I was going to add, and I was like, this starts with I also, is interest, like knowing what your interests are. Because I feel like before you look for that meetup group or before you're trying to find your voice, you need to know what you're interested in because that influences your voice. It influences who you are. Like it doesn't define you, but I mean, it influences the things you like, the way, the colors you... I
think that gets into, like, what type of group you're going to join.
Exactly.
Because when I was looking for a writing group, I joined one full of very nice people, but they were all doing memoirs.
Yeah.
And, I do science fiction and horror, and it was just like, this is just not a good fit because they're not into the same types of fiction I am, whereas the group I'm in now... Like most of them are writing science fiction fantasy. So it's a much better fit. So yeah, knowing what you're looking for in a group is important.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that kind of goes right into inspiration with knowing what your interests are, like analyzing the things you like, trying to not, what's the word? It's like not borrow but steal, or not steal but borrow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Artists do that all the time. Because if you don't know what interests you, how are you going to get inspired?
Right. That's true. And so on the inspiration category, what we recommend you do is take an author, a painter you really like, and dissect what it is you like about them, and then try to implement it and actually just straight up, like, and this is not for something that you want to put out for the public,
right? Like
just straight up copy what they did, and for the purpose of analyzing what it is. So if it's like, okay, if you're like copying a drawing, you're like, it's really like the way they do their lines, their line weights, or the shapes they do, or it's really just about the colors. And with writing, it's like, it's the way they keep their sentences really compact, but still full of detail. Or it's the opposite of like, I like the way they're able to make these long sentences, but still make them flow well. Yeah. Just going in and analyzing as you're sort of copying their style.
Yeah. And I think kind of like what you were about to go into is just copying that style and then learning. I mean, you might be able to find your style in that process. Like your style will just pop out because you're like, you know what? I don't really like how this person did his lines so thick. I'm going to do it, but I want to do it thin line, like with thin lines. And maybe that's your style, using the thinner lines rather than the thick lines. And you discover that by trying to copy. And like you said, don't claim it as your own. Right. Use it as an exercise. It's more of like an
internal thing. Don't.
As a learning process.
Or if you do post it with that qualification. Like, hey, this was sort of an experiment. I was like copying this painting and there's sort of like a learning thing. Don't put it out. It's like, come buy this print this original work I did.
Exactly. That would be
the same if you were going to like post the story on your blog and be like, and explain what you did.
Right.
Then it's cool. Because it's, you're explaining what you're doing. Don't just like
don't steal it.
Straight up plagiarize and put it out. Like, this is my original thing.
Like what you were saying the other day, we were kind of having a similar conversation. Or I guess it was yesterday when you were saying like, oh, don't draw Mickey Mouse and claim it as your own because Mickey Mouse will come after you. I think you meant Disney will come after you. But I'm just picturing in my head Mickey Mouse coming after you.
Mickey Mouse coming with a baseball bat. Like, I'm here to get my money.
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse here to get his money. Mickey Mouse
that was just
always
a stupid
gets his.
thought I had in my head when you said Mickey Mouse will come after you.
Yep.
I was like, what?
I think he's at the door already because he mentioned his name.
No.
Like,
oh boy.
I gotta get my money.
Oh my goodness. I think one thing I wanted to add with being inspired or finding inspiration is this, I guess, goes for artists. I find that sometimes you'll find inspiration with your own ideas. So what I mean is I think it's so important for artists to just doodle. Like just do anything random, don't have anything planned. It's kind of like when you're sitting in the boring class and there's nothing else to do and you don't want to take notes, so all that's left is just doodle.
Doodle, doodle, doodle.
Doodle, doodle, doodle. And sometimes in your doodles you'll create these awesome like shapes and forms or like cool shadows from this weird, wacky building that you doodled. You didn't even mean to do it, but then you look back at it and then you see like, oh wow, I can turn this into something big. And then it becomes and it came from your own head. So it's like, in a sense, sometimes those doodles are your style. You just don't even know it because you were thinking and trying too hard before to go like, I need to have my own style and my own voice. And I just need to go straight into it. But I don't know how to start because I don't know what my style or voice is. It's like, you know what? Just doodle and do what comes naturally to you. Because most of the time that might be your style.
Yeah. And I think this moves straight into iteration.
Yeah.
Which is like iterate small.
Yes.
To find your voice.
Yeah.
Like, don't write 5 novels to find your voice. Write 5 short stories or do 5 notebook doodles or a notebook painting. Don't like try to find your voice painting on 24 by 36 canvases.
Yeah.
To find your voice because it's going to take a lot more time and a lot more money on the materials and things when you could be experimenting smaller to kind of find your thing. Yes. Whether it's really like your use of colors and the really abstract shapes, like really define your style. Yeah. Same with writing. It's like, okay, it's really like the word choice and the density of action. Yes. Or your like the turn of phrase just has a real ring to it that like is your style. And you'll find that through iteration. And the fastest way to do it, like I always say, I think I've always talked about this, like just write a bunch of short stories if you're an author, because that will be much more efficient, be much better use of your time to iterate on it. Yeah. And in my writing group, everyone saw that with mine because I was just like pumping out all these short stories and not all of them were great. Right. But the thing is, it's still like they could always tell, okay, that was definitely Corey's. And for better or worse, some people hate it. Some people love it. Some people are kind of mad. Yeah, and the thing is, you're never gonna not have that. Right. Like it's important that you just have your thing. It doesn't matter that everyone loves it. It just matters that some people love it and some people like it. Some people hate it. It's impossible to not have that because everyone has tastes. Exactly. Like someone who doesn't like science fiction is not gonna like my science fiction story. Or, like I always have like kind of a creepy vibe with all of my stories. Some people, they're not into the creepy vibe, you know, and you're never going to please them. So don't worry about that. Exactly. Worry about the feedback that is like, okay, all of your characters were shallow. None of this made sense. Right. Things that are helpful. Those are feedback that like, it doesn't matter where it comes from. Right. Whereas if it's just like, I don't like your style. It's like, okay, then go find somebody else. You can ignore that because that's not something you're going to change. Because you want your style to be your style, Yeah, that's a very good point. I agree. And that leads into independence. We are free. Right?
on your own. I mean,
and this is the phase where like you've figured out your voice and you're sticking with it. Like stick to your guns. Don't listen to feedback that steers you away from your voice. And again, it's like you should always be open to feedback. It's not that you're closing down to that. It's just like you've sort of learned what is your style and what you feel like you shouldn't change, because you you don't want to waffle on it, to waver on it, because you don't want to like put out a story and then people are like, wait, you wrote this? If you're getting that, like,
doesn't
oh, you
sound
painted
like you.
this? Like, oh, that doesn't, that's weird. That doesn't really seem like you. And that may seem non-intuitive, like, oh, that just means you have good variety. That's not it. It's like, you can have a good variety of, like, my stories. Like, the subject matter and genre is pretty varied, but you still know it's mine.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Like, you still, like, when someone looks at your painting, it's like, you should be able to still tell, even if it's like one is of the sky and one is of a robot. There should still be something there where people know, oh, yeah, that's
this
clearly...
This is her style. This is by
hers.
her. Yeah.
And that's the key, and that's the independence, is knowing what is your style and latching onto it once you get it.
Yeah.
And not letting go.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to send, quote-unquote, like, mixed signals. Because once you get fans, they have an expectation of what you make.
Yeah.
And there is some freedom there. Like, you don't want to get locked in where, like, you're only allowed to paint robots now. It's like you don't want to get locked in like that narrow. It's more just like the broader picture of like there's still that thing that makes you that people can always latch onto, and you need to latch onto it too, and don't lose it, because once you find it, it's like a treasure.
Exactly. It's what makes you you.
Right, exactly. And again, it's like you should always listen to feedback, and it's always evolving. Right. And always getting better, hopefully. Yes. Like once you sit on your butt and stop innovating and stop improving, that's when you're just going to go downhill. Yeah, exactly. It's always a war of degradation. It's not going to just stay along. It's going to get worse if you're not innovating. Yeah. So you always want to get better. Exactly. But still latch on that thing that's you.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. And I think one thing I wanted to go over too before getting to independence, I don't know which eye this would go in, but no crazy train, is knowing your fundamentals first, before building on that and then finding your style. Because like, say you're like with me, I guess, say you're really interested in robots and it's like, oh, I love robots, but I don't really approve, I guess, of the way that I draw the robots. Like, it's not what I want. It's not what I picture in my head. I don't see this as my style, but I still want to draw robots. Well, I don't know, maybe learn shapes more, learn how shadows work under the lighting. So once you know those fundamentals, be confident in those fundamentals so that when you get to it on your own, you won't have to review, the basic steps. You've done it enough. You've done it so many times that it's like, okay, I can just easily do the robot because you went over the fundamentals. You don't have to go back to the beginning and say, okay, I need to know these fundamentals. No, you're solid in that. And now you're able to just apply it and then use it. So I guess that would be iteration, huh?
You're probably under iteration or inspiration.
So
like that.
I think I just skipped over that, is like learning those fundamentals first.
Right. Yeah, I saw you skip over that in the outline, but I thought you just didn't want to talk about it or something.
No, I just completely skipped over it because I was too excited about making sure we mentioned all the eyes, the 4 eyes.
The 4 eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, just to recap, it was initiation, inspiration, iteration, and independence. So it's finding a group, whether that's online, in person, whatever, finding people to give feedback to and to receive feedback from. Yeah. And then
to share,
figuring out your inspiration and learning from them, from authors, from painters, from sculptors that you admire, really analyze and learn from them. Then iterate on all that stuff you just got. So you write a short story, you get feedback, you take all of that, write a new short story with all of that in mind, draw a new painting with all of that in mind, and do that over and over until you'll just see
it's
it.
Natural.
You'll just read it. It will naturally come about. It's not a magical thing where like you have to do this special process. It's really just about doing it over and over, just iterating over and over again, and then becoming independent in your newfound style.
Yes. And it feels so good once you get to the fourth eye. Independence.
Once you put on your glasses, it feels really good, the independence glasses.
Once you become the fourth eye.
Yeah.
And I think one thing we should mention too is for everybody, it's so different, the pace that you'll move at. And no matter how fast or how slow you move, just give yourself patience to get to your independent spot, to find your voice. And it will come. And I think the journey of finding your voice is exciting because just thinking like, wow, I'll be able to like create my own things, be more original and not have to like copy as much or whatever. Mm-hmm. It feels so good once you get there. And so don't beat yourself up trying to get there quick.
Right.
Because you don't want to speed up that process. Yeah.
Yeah, take your time.
Take your time.
Take your time. Yeah. Those bills will pay themselves. Don't worry about it. You don't need to make money.
Yeah. But I have to say, like, reading your voice, Corey's voice, like seeing, it's funny because, like, I can tell what's written by you. And that's where okay, yeah, he's got a voice. He's independent. And, like, it's so cool for other people to read, like your friends or your girlfriend to read. It's like exciting. And then I feel like with me, now that I'm officially like finding what my style is, I feel like more confident as an artist.
Yeah,
it just feels so good. So yeah, take your time, people.
Take your time. Take your time. Yeah, and I just really quick, I think something you get to once you have a voice established, you have sort of a what's a good way to say it? Like, at least with storytelling, with writing, people give you a certain amount of leeway because you have this established thing.
Yeah.
So they'll give you a little more time to, like, get interesting, if that makes sense. Because sometimes you want a little bit of a slow build. And if you have this sort of, like, established style, it's easier to do that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry as much about the hook.
I see.
Being
Yes,
as
I see what you're saying.
with that.
Exactly.
It's like they'll give you a little bit.
Yeah.
And the same with painting. If you have your established style, then you kind of have a little more leeway with like, with trying to, you don't have to be over dramatic about things.
Yeah. You can just be you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope that was helpful to anyone who's trying to find their voice.
Yeah. And we should write the 4 eyes on the blog post.
On the blog. Yeah. We'll give you a little study sheet.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Curry. I was going to call you Curry, and then I was like, no, I shouldn't. Okay, no, I'll do it. Okay, Curry Wallace. What inspired you this week?
A old-time radio program from the 1950s called X-1.
How?
I think I'll insert a little sample right here.
I have here cash retainer of $5,000.
Oliver, take a look at that wad of lettuce.
It's the real stuff, Mr. Ryan.
And my client is prepared to spend many times that amount.
What's like a saying they said in the 40s?
A saying?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we listened to a sample earlier, and they were like, "Oh, that's a nice stack of lettuce."
That was
It was talking about money.
That's a nice stack of lettuce.
Yeah, maybe I'll put in that as the sample. It's like, what?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Corey played it for me earlier. Well, he didn't play it for me. He was playing it like in the background while we were eating breakfast and looking at me, waiting for my reaction. Because he does that all the time. He plays something random at any point of the day, at any place we're at, sorry. And you'll do something, play something random in the background, and you're just staring at me until I
Waiting to see
react.
what you react.
Yeah.
How you react.
Yes.
Yeah, she loves it. So for me, I've always loved these serial radio programs that are basically like precursors to Twilight Zone, which is one of my favorite TV shows.
So good.
And I'm writing a radio program up for myself. Writing a radio program myself.
Yes.
Which I'll talk about later on what I'm working on.
Yeah.
So it's definitely shows like X-1 because that show specifically was based on a lot of science fiction short stories from popular authors like Isaac Asimov.
I don't know.
I always forget how to pronounce his name.
Okay.
Philip K. Dick, like a lot of these very popular science fiction authors from like the 40s and 50s. So it's really cool to hear those stories in like a radio drama setting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. It is cool.
So what inspired you this week?
Well, the sky.
Oh, you're such a painter. I was inspired by the sky. It's so beautiful.
I mean, okay, so I was very busy this week. There wasn't really anything I could do on the side from painting and working and teaching. So I was like, man, what inspired me this week? Because I painted, but I'm like, okay, what inspired me to paint? Ah, yes, the beautiful sky. Okay,
yes,
so
the sky.
we live in Southern California where the sky is beautiful at sunset time. And this week especially, the clouds were pink, like cotton candy pink. And there was yellow and orange. And I'm like, oh. So when we'd go for walks, I think like every night this week we went for a walk.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and every night I would look up at the sky and I'd see the clouds and I took pictures and I was just in awe. And I think just seeing the sky was like it put something in my head that then put something
like
in
an
my
inspiration almost.
Yes, that put something in my fingers to put in the paint to put on the journal to paint the sky.
What the?
In other words, it inspired me to paint the sky.
Wow.
That's how my brain works.
Yeah, and we'll post that in the blog. She did some very beautiful sky paintings,
thank you.
cloud paintings this week.
Thank you. Yeah, I did with what the time I had. Because I needed to paint something and I saw those colors and I'm like, oh, I haven't really painted much that had pink and purple in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I usually use the primary colors a lot. I don't use as much purple or pink. So I'm like, wait a second, I should get more colors into what I'm doing. What am I thinking? So yeah, that's what inspired me this week was the sky, the beautiful sky.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah.
So now what we're working on, I already hinted at it, and I believe I
did.
talked about it last week.
Yes.
I am working on a radio drama podcast.
Dun, dun,
Dun, dun, dun. Wow.
we just harmonized.
And it's called Enter Oblivious.
Uh-huh.
And that will be coming out in the next
I'm so
couple
excited.
weeks.
I'm so excited.
Working. I finished the script, and we actually did like a test recording, and that episode will come out eventually. But I don't think it's a good like first episode. I want to do something a little more dramatic, a little more sci-fi. So
Yes.
I've already outlined the news story, so I have to write script. And then we have a narrator, which one of my 15 brothers. Is going to be the narrator, and then another brother is doing the music.
He really does have 15 brothers.
I'll insert a little. Yeah, I have 3 brothers.
Only 3, just 3.
I should have my third brother just do like I should have him do like a security guard voice in the background or something.
He can be the security guard. You're
then
right.
It'll be all the Willis brothers will be
Oh
on
my
there.
gosh.
Yep. So I'm working on that. Just writing scripts for that. Testing. Like had the narrator record some intros and tried it with the music and everything. So I've been dabbling with it, but
He's
it'll
been a
be
busy
out.
bee.
Been a little busy bee. So that'll be out, within the next month,
Yeah.
and that should be like a twice monthly affair.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be pretty neato when it comes out.
I'm really excited for
yeah.
all our big plans and goals and to share with the world.
Share with everyone. So what have you been working on?
So with me, I've just been adding to my journal, my painting journal. And I painted the sky, I painted a robot, I painted a face that may or may not have been Corey's again.
Ay.
I didn't mean to. So I did
didn't
this.
mean
I
to.
used this like random art generator because I was
And my face came up.
no.
Just generated my
Yes.
face randomly. Like, oh, weird.
Said paint Corey Willis. No. What happened was I didn't think of what to paint, but I needed to paint something, and so I was like, I don't have time to think right now. I'm just going to do the random art generator, and then it said something like, it gives random words.
Mm-hmm.
It's like cheekbones and bright, like solid colors and weapons, I think was the other one.
Weapons?
Yeah, weapons.
Oh, weird.
And I was like, I'm probably not going to add weapons.
Like, I can't picture you drawing a weapon.
No,
It's
me
not
neither.
something I could envision.
Right. No, I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I could if somebody asked me or paid me to. But for my own painting, I would not. That's weird. I wonder if people actually like paint weapons. I'm sure.
Probably.
Like the way they paint portraits, Just
Sure.
why not? Let's paint some guns.
Portraits of an AK.
So anyway, I used the random generator, and then cheekbones. Obviously, I thought of Corey because he has sharp cheekbones.
Wow.
So that's what I'm working on. I still haven't finished my Norway painting, but I'm going to get to it soon. I need to. I just need to. Kick me if I don't finish it by October.
Okay, gladly.
And there you go. That's what I've been working on.
Very nice. Well, good job.
Thank you.
And you can support the show by telling your friends about us, but then also leaving us a review on iTunes would be awesome.
Tell all your artsy friends.
Yeah, tell all your artsy friends. I don't know if any other platforms have reviews. I think iTunes is only one, and it's also the biggest platform. So if you left us a review there, that would be awesome.
Yeah, tell us what you think.
Yeah. And if you have any feedback, send it to feedback@mokosayscreate.com. And we will read it and maybe even respond if we feel like it.
Yeah. Who knows? There's only one way to find out,
only one way to find out.
One way.
Only one way. Let's see if Monica remembers what we're doing at the end.
Yes.
And until next time,
Moko says create.